Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Fresh Off the Show.
Yes, welcome.
This is the unofficial live Fresh Off the Boat after show. We're here at the Japanese American National Museum with our awesome live studio audience. My name's Phil Yu.
And I'm Jenny Yang.
Today we are finale of Fresh Off the Boat with some very special guests. We have actress and writer Keiko Agena. We have Oliver Wang, professor at Cal State Long Beach, and the author of what's the name of your book?
Legions of Boom.
What's that colon? What is it called? Legions of Boom.
Filipino-American Mobile Disc Jockey Cruise in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Filipino-American mobile disc jockey gurus in the San Francisco area.
Boom! We have, for visual communications, we have Milton Liu. And then we have from Color Lines, we have Julianne Hing. Thank you all for everyone who joined us here live, but also thank you everybody who's tuning in, and thank you everybody who's been tuning in basically all season. We thought we'd close out the season by circling back from where we started with a live season. We did the live season premiere. That was huge, and
in the same place.
Yeah.
In the same place, and we were packed. It's a little lighter today, but this is the mighty. These are the people who stuck through all 13 episodes, right? How many, I'm just curious, how many of you have seen, be honest, we won't be penalized if you haven't, how many of you have seen every single episode of the season? Oh wow, and it's true, the majority of the people here, yeah.
I have both of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then I played on Hulu like the day after.
Right on.
You know what I'm saying? While I'm cleaning.
After I go home from this, I'm gonna go watch it on my DVR again. So
Thank you.
that's what we do.
Renew FLTV is the hashtag because all of those Hulu plays, they actually count toward the live ratings. So, you know.
Renew FOTV.
Yes. So, Phil, yeah, let's
yes.
let's review the episode. We have amazing panelists, but like we typically do, we like to kind of give a quick recap.
Yes, so in this episode entitled So Chinese, written by Sanjay Shah, shout out to Sanjay.
What's up, Sanjay?
In this episode, let's see, Jessica becomes concerned that her family is becoming too assimilated and losing their Chinese identity.
Which I love because if anyone, it would be Jessica Huang, right, who'd be keeping it real, being like worried about keeping it real, don't you think? I think so.
Yeah, totally. And
yeah.
also, these are all sort of marked by the fact that they get invited to join the country club.
Yes.
And also, Eddie is sort of rejecting China at the
for World Culture
Day.
Day. You know, he has the choice about which culture he's going to represent for the fair. Clearly, he wants to go easy, which is kind of messed up for Jamaicans because apparently Jamaican culture is easy. But he won't do China.
Man.
I know.
So let's dive into the episode, and I want to know. Let's have what do you guys think of the episode?
I mean, this is one. You know, I don't happen to be Taiwanese. It's not a nitpicky thing for someone who would be, but for this show to reiterate over and over and over that they're Chinese for a family that is Taiwanese, and Eddie's very proudly Taiwanese. I mean, I was thinking about that the entire time. But that aside, I thought this episode had so many layers to it. It was really, really well written, and there were zingers and a lot of meaning at the same time. Yeah, I mean, I love this episode. I thought it ended really, really strong.
I personally like that it ended with a Notorious B.I.G. song. Is all I'm saying. I feel like that's a very appropriate. It's a nice way to end the season.
This episode actually speaks a lot to me because there's a running joke at BC that I'm Chinese and Taiwanese, but I can't really speak Mandarin except for the bad words that my mom used to call me.
Which little Evan,
yes.
Little Evan
So
was saying some bad words.
Huaidan, Samba, Nizhen Tongming, like that's like.
Nizhen Tongming means you're very smart.
Sarcastically. So the running joke is Lu Chen, who's running her box office. She's fluent in Mandarin, so she's trying to teach me words, and it's really difficult for me. So I love this episode.
I thought it was a lot like a lot of the episodes I've seen this season where the individual jokes can be fantastic, and there was a lot of extremely funny moments here. As a whole, it didn't really come together. I wasn't compelled by the general plot line. The sort of, am I Chinese enough? This feels simple and a little bit lazy writing wise, but I thought that as I think Julian was saying, the zingers were great. I mean, there were these. I mean, I could easily spend another 3 minutes with just the Chinese tutor. That was hilarious. As someone who's been maybe not quite the, I've been in Chinese school, maybe not quite with a Chinese opera teacher like that, but I found that pretty hilarious. So.
I really liked it. Yeah, I kind of liked it. I think the gut level is the same reason that I really like the pilot, is because when Constance, I'm such a huge fan of her, is that she makes you, she doesn't back away from the heartfelt side of it. And I think that that's why I stuck with this series from the beginning, is because it was funny, it was great, but when it lands, it really lands for me. And when she speaks from the heart, and I think that if that character didn't do that, I would be very superficial, I think, with this series. But the fact that she can really ground it when she does makes me feel all in.
Yeah.
So I think that I really enjoyed this episode because I feel like it. And they let you really, they marked the things that had changed from the beginning, which they actually changed a lot for a comedy, Like a lot of times you'll see these comedies and they'll have the same structure and they won't let the characters kind of like the business get any better in the first year. But like they let the business get better, and Eddie does have friends.
Yeah.
So then once you've spent a little bit of time in a certain city and things have changed, then what are the next, we're dealing with next level problems, which what am I losing? And I thought that was really brave for them to not just sit back for the first season and really go through a change and say, well, now what are my problems now that I kind of fit in a little better in this city?
And I don't know that it holds together really well in terms of being really cohesive this episode, but I think that they ask really great questions, like what is culture? There's clearly a performative aspect to it. There's what you can consume. There's who you are, how you look to other people. I liked that they asked all those questions in funny and sweet ways.
Yeah, and I think symbolically what I like is I saw this tweet by Jaws here about how literally they said, who did we leave behind, or what did we leave behind? And it was Grandma Huang.
Well, this is,
was very
we're not leaving
symbolic.
our history behind, right? But
Or
that's
his,
something
yeah,
literally for-
but Grandma is
Yeah.
left behind.
I feel like this episode is such a interesting way to end it, considering the arc of the entire season. In the beginning, Jessica, the pilot episode, Jessica is so concerned with them being too American. Why are you so American? Like why do you want to fit in a box that's so American? And then you see, it's interesting that having watched the entire 13 episodes now, you grew with this family, you got to know them, and you got to know them way beyond their sort of Chineseness. Actually, they became fully fleshed characters. So they can't really be fully defined by sort of just like their Chinese culture, you know what I mean? And it's also really made up because this show's been dogged by all these like criticisms and observations, like, oh, it's not authentic enough, or like what is authenticity, and what is cultural authenticity, And I think they kind of, what's really cool is that when Jessica puts on that Chun-Li outfit and stuff like that, in an effort to be more Chinese, it's like she actually looks quite ridiculous, and actually it's like that's not you trying to be more Chinese. This is a weird false sense of what that means, And it reminds me of sort of a moment that happened during the TCAs before the season started, where this woman was like, this journalist at the Television Critics Association, she was like, are there going to be more? This woman is a moron. She's like, are there going to be more chopsticks? Because I really like the chopsticks, the Asian culture. I just love all that. And I was
This
like,
is the first question.
Yeah.
A room full of journalists to publicize the new season.
Yeah. And the question just sucked the air out of the room, but it spoke to this ignorance, and I was like, wow, that moment, the chicken feet stuff is like, that's so, that's like a chopstick moment, but it rings false now, at this point in the season. We have a comment from Christopher Chen online. It says, when did Phil, Jenny, or Milton realize they were not Chinese enough? Well, I realized I was not Chinese a long time ago when I was born, because I'm not Chinese, so.
But you're so Chinese.
You can pass, we'd accept it.
Yeah.
YU is a Chinese surname, just FYI.
I'm faking it.
I'm- I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it. We're just gonna just swallow all Asians.
But it also brings up another question of like everyone is just trying to prove that by these weird like hallmarks that like I am Chinese enough, in this episode. It's like, and actually isn't anything you do. It's just what you are. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a perpetual identity question that we're not gonna be able to answer.
Not on a network sitcom, at least, no.
No, and not here, honestly, like how Chinese is Chinese. I'm very Chinese, FYI. Just, in case you were wondering.
It does hit home for me with this whole episode where they finally explain why they wear shoes in the house.
A burning question finally answered.
We're like, what's with the
Dog
shoes?
deceiving like the whole time, right?
And I think
It was distracting us from watching the show.
I think to sort of answer Chris's question, I don't always not wear shoes in my house.
You filthy animal.
And it was one of those things that I really only encountered when I moved to LA with a larger body of Asian ethnicities out here. They're like, why are you wearing your shoes in your house? And I was just like I'm not making an excuse. Explain it. But like,
Whatever, try to justify
in
it.
Chicago, in New York, I don't know. There wasn't like a shit ton of slippers in the front door. I don't know what it is, but like it wasn't like a huge thing for us.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's more, sectional when we get to it or
Well,
not.
I mean, we're not gonna get to the bottom of this, but
Right.
what generation are you?
I was born here. My parents were. Was that first?
Okay.
Second.
It happens. It happens.
Well, I like the way they explained this on the show, and Derek Liu asked. I like how they explained it. Not sure if it was carefully planned or fixing a mistake. So
Fixing a mistake of like, oops.
that's a long ass payoff for that joke, though.
We didn't take our shoes off on the living room set. Yeah.
Beverly Yanuaria says season finale totally felt like a college culture night show in a good way.
But we had that, in my high school in Torrance, where there was a lot of Asian Americans, lots of different cultures, we had like a World Cultures Day. We had a multicultural day. And it was only just food. Honestly, it was just like, if your group had a booth, like the Japanese group had the yakisoba, like, you know what I mean? Or
Rice for us, right?
yeah, or whatever, and we did kind of just boil down our culture to a dish. So I don't know, I think it's the nature of the American beast or something that's just where we're at in order to include everyone, right?
I think I think the food part is something where it's really interesting because like the episode where in the first episode actually he brings his gross Chinese food, right, and he gets rejected for that. But like the one thing I do remember from like those culture days, it's like bring a plate of pot stickers and then like all of a sudden everyone's like, ooh, these are so great. Like, all right, they're just pot stickers, man. We just eat them up.
Trader too.
Yeah. Totally.
Fried dumplings, they eat people like that.
Did anybody here have to attend a Chinese or Korean school or Japanese school
Yes.
or anything like that?
Yeah, can we talk about that Chinese school teacher? I have to say, I think the choice they make, because as someone who understands and speaks Mandarin, the choice they made with encouraging the teacher to like kind of chinkify his Chinese.
I got like opera from that.
It's like Beijing opera. It
Right.
was straight up like Beijing opera, and I was like, really?
I was so. I
You know what I
felt
mean?
for.
Like it just seemed like even for purposes of funniness, it just seemed like too much to me.
You've watched the season, right? That's what too much is? Okay.
I mean, I liked it. I mean, I went to Chinese school and I had a guy like that.
Really?
Yeah.
When he was like, 大家好啊，我们今天 it's like he's talking like that.
Because it was the whole thing about trying to enunciate well and try, just.
真的那么过分呀？我们大家一起讲中文。
Yeah.
Please stand up, act. We're hearing as we speak right here. Okay.
I do think that a
Just
lot
I
of
pop the vessel.
I do think that a lot of the Chinese whatever school experience is about, instilling in you proper diction. Like I had to read stupid poetry, which I can't remember, which is totally
Stupid poetry.
Chinese classical culture.
completely useless in my daily life. Like I mean, I understood that, you know, like that, I got what they were trying to communicate, even though I never had like crazy teachers like that.
And I'm
It
glad
made sense to me.
I'm sorry. I'm glad they cast someone who was a native Mandarin speaker as opposed
So
to
that's true.
because
It could have been horrible.
it wasn't. Did they cut away from Constance when she was speaking Mandarin, and we don't see her face because she doesn't actually speak Mandarin? Because I was like, that's a weird. You know,
The Mandarin was good though.
It was, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure it was her. Is what I'm saying.
I think she does speak Mandarin.
Okay.
What if the teacher was that janitor from her office? Remember that was
That like,
That
Weird
room.
callback to, there was a janitor in a previous episode who actually spoke Chinese.
a white guy who.
did he speak Chinese or was he the one who?
Oh,
He's
explained
explaining the
numerology
form.
to
Yeah.
Like he was the one doing the tones and stuff.
We got Rira. She says, although it was Chinese school, I got some terrifying flashbacks of Korean school. 10 years of terror.
Okay.
Girl, I hear you.
So not too
Okay.
far. Apparently I was the only one that was just like,
Dude, that was me, Eddie putting the hoodie over his head and like, dude, that was straight up me. Like wasted years of Korean school, wasted my parents' money Saturday mornings.
you can't read Korean,
I can read, I can understand some, I can.
so it was worth it.
I don't know about that. I should be way better considering the amount of time I put in there for that hoodie.
I think in the whole Soul Chinese thing, I just want to throw that out there. I find that for me, as someone who people read as maybe born here or like very Americanized, I do sometimes find myself wanting to explain that I'm actually more Chinese than you think. You know, I feel like that's come up a couple times with some people I know where like, they're like, oh, you think I'm super Americanized, but like, you know, they want to take pride in the fact that like, they're kind of fobby or whatever, you know?
Well, the key, I think the linchpin of this episode is the part where Honey says, oh, I don't think of you as
Exactly.
as Chinese.
See, so that's
Regular
that's the
old
perpetual-
American.
That's the
And it's supposed to
perpetual
be a
issue.
compliment.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a
So
compliment.
that's a perpetual issue with assimilation, right, as immigrants. It's like, on the one hand, we probably do want to succeed in some way by adapting or being, you know, showing that we're capable of taking on or learning these types of signifiers that we're, you know, we could fit in. But the moment that like someone wants to completely erase that identity, it's like, wait a second. Yeah,
But I think
that's tough.
Yeah, that was a nice thing about this episode, is that I think these are topics that we talk about a lot, or we talk about with our friends.
Yes.
You don't see
No.
on TV, like that moment, and then when Eddie says, wait, what are you saying? And then you have that, like, I felt the air at the end of the episode, it like came out of my lungs. I was like, what are we doing here, people? But we're gonna, like, it was a different moment that I know as an
Yes.
audience member, I don't see that out there. I see it maybe in short films, or we talk about it amongst
Or the
ourselves.
BC
but-
Film Fest.
Or at the BC Film Festival, which we
Olive.
love.
Hey.
But this was great, because this is just a show that everybody's seeing, and I love that, and I appreciate that they get back away.
Yeah, like, you know, they're all sitting around in the Jamaica circle, all the kids making fun of China, and he's like, Jamaica's better anyway, yeah, and then somebody has to take it too far.
Hudson Yang doing his best like Joe Pesci impression.
I thought it was a Goodfellas gag, and I was like, oh no, he's actually trying to be serious.
I think it was a Goodfellas gag, but
Yeah.
it was also, it was a weird like, you know, right that line. I mean,
Like, you think I'm a clown?
but you know what? That moment where he sticks over China, and then you look at Constance as Jessica, and she has this glint in her eye of a tear. You're like, I felt that, man. I really felt that. Yeah.
Man, Jessica Huang, Constance Wu, acting so good.
Let's talk about the season as a whole. I
Yeah.
think. Let's look back at the whole thing. I mean, speaking of Jessica, speaking of Constance Wu, I think she's clearly sort of the breakout performer. I mean, I'm gonna throw it out there. I said it in a previous episode, but like, Constance Wu, Emmy nomination. Hey.
I also do think, I mean, I love Jessica Huang as a character and Constance Wu as an actor, and I think that she was just given the most depth anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Randall Park, for all his talents, he's like the goofy dad, and he never really gets to be much more than that.
He's got
so-
he's got a little bit something. I mean, you can't have Constance without Rand. You can't have those two
Totally,
girls. You know what I mean?
totally. Yeah, but really, Constance Wu is like, it really is her show.
And she kind of represents the heart of the family in terms of driving what the family needs to be about. She's always the one kind of trying to help recalibrate and double check, right, what the family culture needs to be. I feel like too Chinese, not enough money, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's the one reinforcing everything.
There were a lot of expectations coming into this show this season. I think a lot of the sort of like anxieties, the rep sweats, were addressed, I think, or at least kind of like sort of.
AKA the representational anxiety you feel when you're a minority in the culture and you see something that's supposed to represent you and you don't know how it's going to turn out.
Well rehearsed.
Not rehearsed.
But I think a lot of that was sort of deflated, I think, at least at the first couple episodes. I don't know, what do you guys think now looking back at that season, did the show sort of, did it meet up expectations? Did it disappoint in some ways? Did it, what are you guys thinking?
I mean, so I've had to write weekly recaps for color lines on the show.
It's good stuff.
Like, thank you. And I never, I don't cover pop culture as a beat. I have to give a shout out to my editor, Akiva Solomon, who said, I want some weekly coverage of Fresh Off the Boat. I think I see you raising your hand, Julianne. And it's turned out to be a lot of fun to write about. But I have to say, I mean, yeah, that kind of that anxiety, it fell away really fast. And this show ended up being something that I enjoyed writing about every single week. Like, it could have been a damn chore, but it was actually a lot of fun. And I enjoyed it. Like, it was a fun ride to be on. I liked from the start and throughout just thinking about some of the highlights for me, the fearlessness about talking about whiteness or this family's relationship to whiteness. I'm thinking about the episode with the child, Philip Goldstein, who can outdo this Chinese family, but a Jewish parents. I loved the pilot and those really barbed comments about whiteness. I thought there were a lot of really there was strong social commentary laced throughout it, and a lot of fun characters, and those boys are just like adorable every single week. They're just completely adorable. So there was so much to tune in for all the time.
I mean, yeah, to me, it was really this first time of finding a character on TV that I could empathize with and that had the same sort of experience. Because I've always, like growing up the day, I had to empathize with Alex P. Keaton or.
Were you a young Republican?
Or Boners to Bone, I don't know. What's the
Bangs,
yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can get with like that. White male, high school kind of life or whatever it was. But like, this was really the first time, and I, not that I have anything in common with Real Eddie Huang or even with Hudson's character at a younger age. It was just something like, even today, like I was talking about, like they only use the bad Chinese words. They were wearing shoes in the house, like things that just really had that connection with me that I've never had before. So it was just great to go through that season, even with some storylines that may have been like hit or miss. At times, but just realizing that this is a network sitcom. I don't watch network sitcoms, and just how much of this connection that I could glean from this show was just fascinating. And just really, I never really cared about looking forward to Tuesdays. The voice, what I mean. So really thinking about it that way, just it sinks in.
You care about Tuesdays because you're going to see us.
That's true.
Aww.
I said this after the premiere of the first episode, and this would apply to the season as a whole, which is that I liked it better than I thought I was going to go in liking it. Though I do think the most promising part of thinking about the season is that the person in my family who's most into the show is actually my 10-year-old daughter, who is hyped to see it in a way that I'm like, I don't have to watch it the night up, but for her, it's like, no, it's Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock, fresh off the boat. So that's probably a good sign, at least for the long-term ratings, I guess, because the younger demographic wants to watch it. I think there's a lot about it which I like, and to echo a lot of things have already been said in terms of the jokes, the ability to identify. I think the question I keep coming back to, though, is would I be watching the show if not for the casting? Would I like it on its merits outside of the Asian Americanness of it? And obviously, that's impossible to divorce. But I would probably say no if it wasn't for the fact that it's an all Asian American cast. Would I watch this? Probably not. It doesn't necessarily speak to sort of my comedic sensibilities as a network sitcom. But again, that's obviously a huge part of it. It's not you can just kind of take that element out. Yeah.
I think the opposite. I'm sold on it as a comedy first. And I actually like the fact that when I talk to my friends, diverse people that aren't Asian at all, they're like, oh yeah, I like that show. They haven't renewed it yet. Why haven't they renewed it yet? Like that has been the response that I've gotten. As far as like my taste in comedies, like I don't like multicam necessarily, and this sits right in that sweet spot where I love the jokes, I love the pace of it. I feel like all of the characters individually are solid. There aren't those characters where I'm like, well, I'll just get through this next 10 minutes. Like I like each of the characters that they bring out, and I enjoy it. So it's been a great ride, I think, the whole season.
I mean, I think for me, what's really watching the show and watching I've never seen so much commentary and criticism, chatter about any one show, at least in the history of, I'm running my blog I'm on year 15 now, and I haven't seen anything quite like this before. But the thing that sort of makes me optimistic is that hopefully this doesn't have to be the be all and end all of Asians on television. You know what I mean? Like this hopefully is a test case where it busts open the door and we get to see all kinds of different. So if you don't like the network TV sitcom, sort of the family sitcom, the 8 o'clock version, like hopefully we could see the other stuff, something. And I think Hollywood is so risk averse. We need to see some sort of success stories, and so something like this coming along and kind of blowing a lot of expectations out of the water, like that's what I'm optimistic. And then the anecdote about your daughter, that makes me, like I didn't have anything like this growing up, so the fact that
none of us did.
Yeah, none of us did, and so that makes me very. I mean, I feel that, it's really
People had
great.
Pokemon. That's right.
Robotech, that was my
People had
Yes,
Pokemon.
yes.
Robotech was my jam.
Which they're casting for a live action version, which is probably gonna white.
Yeah, no, that sucks.
And they will be whatever.
I have a couple of things that have been kind of cruising around from the audience and from our live tweeters. First of all, we haven't addressed it, but Taiwan actually has been getting translated versions of Fresh Off the Boat now. So they started to, so in Taiwan, they've actually started to play Fresh Off the Boat, and Jaws, what's up, Jaws, linked a really great Asia Pacific Arts of University of Southern California blog that's covered some of the reactions from journalists and bloggers who are covering the show in Taiwan. And in general, I mean, it's fairly positive. There was some complaint about how the fact that the actors are not all Taiwanese American.
There you go.
But whatever. But generally they're finding it funny, and I guess I think it didn't hurt that Constance actually visited Taipei as a publicity thing. She visited Din Tai Fung to see how they make soup dumplings.
Of course.
And she looks gorgeous, of course, and what better way to sell the show in Taiwan than Constance. Yeah, so this article, if you go to Jaws's Twitter, you'll see the link, and I'm gonna retweet that one. But I mean, I don't know. I need to ask my cousin. She actually was on my Facebook like, they have it in Taiwan now. I'm like, oh, I should ask her what she thought. We do have a couple of also from Real Americans, which we've really relied on. That's RealMericans on Twitter. We've relied on Real Americans for really good animated GIFs. And
Yes.
Real Americans, he or she or they, have put up the pixelated drop towel moment for Randall Clark.
Props to Randall for going full Monty on this.
Just go on. Yeah, it's
We need more naked Randall on TV.
more sexualization of Asian American men. Just throwing that out there, maybe not. But here's one, maybe not, it's debatable. But another question though, an honest question here by Beverly Yanuadia. To be honest, feeling kind of weird about the approach to Black culture on Fresh Off the Boat this season. Anyone else? I know we kind of addressed that earlier, but is it worth kind of talking about? Because in the end, man, Walter is part of the group. He's, Walter originally from the Jake episode.
I mean, I think this episode, I was thinking about the Jamaica the Caribbean island thing. Like,
I know.
But I was like, yo, this is so like them in their like those ponchos and their like. I felt like I was looking at like some of the white people on my college campus, right? Who were like really into reggae. Their hacky sack and stuff like that. I felt like, oh, this is really a white attitude towards Jamaica, Caribbean culture, and reggae mon, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I felt like overall, we have addressed this a lot actually on the show, but I think a lot of people talk about sort of Eddie's relationship with hip hop. You know, and I think he has a very, we're talking about a young kid who's sort of latching on to hip hop and not fully understanding all the things around hip hop culture. But he's got this sort of like, he just knows he really loves it, you know what I mean? And then there's only so much you can address on a network TV show, I think, when it comes to sort of the complicated, you know, ideas around race and stuff like that. But I really actually appreciated sort of this, what Eddie's appreciation of hip hop, at least on that, like, that, just knowing that I love it so much
Yes,
on that
he's-
level, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he sincerely is loving hip hop.
I do think that if the real Eddie Huang didn't talk so much about how much and like the role that hip hop has played in his actual life, probably this wouldn't sit so well with me. I don't, you know, I'm not like super impressed by how it's handled here, but you know, I think that the real Eddie Huang is convincing, at least in how he talks about his relationship to hip hop.
But he's complained about how the show treats hip hop.
Right.
So by that token, I mean, I think it's that, and every time they deal with young Eddie, the film, the sort of the TV's Eddie's raging hormones, that and anything that has to do with Black culture or hip hop are to me the two most uncomfortable parts of any episode. And not to push back on you, well, actually I'm going to push back on you, Phil. You're saying that you can't deal with those things in a network show or at the time that you have, you know, to get into these complicated issues. But we've been spending this whole time talking about how the show deals with Asianness and Asian Americanness. So it doesn't seem to me as if they're capable of doing that, they could do a better job with sort of gender and with race. And I know as a sociology professor, you know, I'm probably sounding like a broken record with that, but I do think that hip hop is treated in Black culture is really treated as a punchline rather than something that's taken seriously on its own merits. And I think that's really one of the things that if you look at how they're attempting to sort of translate the actual Eddie's relationship to hip hop versus how the show portrays it, it's a really, I mean, watered down is even too generous of a way to put it. I think it's really flawed, and it's one of the things that every time I just kind of get cringy when they do it, which is why I really like when they focus on Constance more, because I'm sure you can find other things to problematize with her, but it doesn't try to wade into that territory and sort of treat it in this half-assed way. So
Season two. Season two. We knew it about TV.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on a little bit, it is a very, very fine line. Like, why is it, you know, we're talking about, like, you know, the Asian culture not being marginalized and things like that, but, you know, I think today's episode opens up with, like, I'm the first Black president, you know?
Yeah.
And why, you know, if that was a white kid saying that, like, we'd be all up in their face. So, I mean, there is that need to address it, and, you know, Oliver's correct, you know, right, I mean, if they can address the Chinese, the Asian part of it, they need to, you know, really focus in on that part. You know, I get it, it's comedy's sake and things like that, but, you know, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
I think, do you want to open up for questions to the audience or comments?
If you have questions or comments, why don't you come and line up behind Phil so that you can take the seat and the microphone and you can be on camera.
Wait,
Don't be
hand
shy.
down.
Come on down. It's an intimate crowd. Come on down and ask the question, and then we'll discuss. We're all friends. In the meantime, I'm gonna open up my apple Cedra. Apple Cedra.
I feel so inauthentic that I've never seen that until now.
This
I
is
did not
my
know about
childhood.
household, but you know, I'm not telling you.
I came to America when I was 5 from Taiwan, and we had free plane tickets because my dad worked for airlines. And so between age 5 and 14, this is the only reason why I went back to Taiwan. This and Hei Song soda. Yeah, look at that. Hei Song Sa Si. Here we go. Cheers. Cheers. Sponsorship. Hello. No. So much sugar, but not corn syrup. See? Still good.
So it's like Mexican Coke.
So tell us, what is your name and what is your question?
Oh, my name is Kemi.
Hi, Kemi.
And actually, my earlier comment was going to be about the mix of like Asian
Lean
American.
forward.
Oh, sorry. My earlier comment was actually going to be about Asian American culture on the show. But then when you guys started talking about this, I actually wanted to comment on this. But one of the things though with the show is that it was set in the 90s, and like during the 90s, I feel like because there wasn't with YouTube and like media now, there is like a lot more Asian American presence and more like a little bit more of like media and like youth can kind of something they can like tie to.
Sure.
But back in the 90s, like a lot of Asian Americans, like they identified with maybe like Black culture, hip hop culture,
Yeah.
because there wasn't really anything that they could identify with. And so that's why that's kind of what I wish they would explain in the show, but I just kind of know about, like, you know, I have a lot of like my older sisters and like a lot of people that I know that were just like, they grew up in that time, and they said that they really loved hip hop because that's something they could kind of like tie themselves into, like kind of like she, like the way he dresses, like
Yeah.
a little bit more larger shirts, and sometimes he kind of wears like baggy pants. And it wasn't necessarily, so I don't think it's really trying to like, they should, I guess like what I should say is they should really explain it more, you know, and go into a little bit more detail, as you said, like why he like identifies with that.
Yeah.
And then maybe even go into like the whole thing, like in the 90s, the whole like ASEAN movement, and you know how we're
But the thing is, we haven't seen that yet, right?
Yeah.
So because he's in a place where it's only him. Yeah.
Well, and the whole ASEAN thing was kind of more people that were a little bit older, but I
Yeah.
mean, that's what they could explain,
Yeah.
I think, more.
I just want to throw in there, thank you for your comment, but I do remember that in an earlier episode, when that cousin came, remember that cousin where they thought they were on the same page with hip hop, he showed up loving
Nirvana.
Nirvana, right? And then there was a comment, you were the Nirvana guy. There was a comment when he showed up, you know, by the voiceover of Eddie Wong saying, you know, in the 90s, you had to choose, was it, right, grunge rock, or was it hip hop? And so that was maybe the one time they addressed it. But, you know, I think that's definitely, you know, that's addressed, but your later comment was about, let me remember.
Basically saying that they should explain more, like,
Yeah.
you said that how he, like the real Eddie Wong, how he identified.
How
with
deep
that.
the hip hop
Yeah, and
goes.
I think it's
Yeah.
because that time period, why some people watching it don't understand that, but people that like grew up or something in the 90s would kind of get that more because they kind of know already like why he identifies with it because they did as well.
Yeah.
But I like what I do really like about the show is just like the random, I don't want to say random, but like the mix of Asian American culture and American culture and how they kind of like tie it in. Cause like I can identify with a lot of the things myself, like you said, like the shoes and not and this and that.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Akemi, everyone. Anyone else come on up? Come on up. Any comments for our panelists while our next commenter comes up? Come on up.
We have I just want to say, Yasmin Gomez tweeted, I didn't have Fresh Off the Boat, but I did have Lane Kim and Gilmore Girls. Thank you. Hold on, do we have another commenter?
Amazing. Amazing. Name, I love Kim. Name and
My name is
question
Michael.
or comment.
It was both a comment and a question. My favorite part was when they made a reference to the Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World.
I thought I noticed that the publicity photo they used for the kids' t-shirt was from a later season, but no.
Oh.
Ooh, continuity error.
Was it because of the length of his hair?
I think they.
The
That
curls?
might have been right. I think they did research, but I collect all the DVDs, so I know it's
Ah.
3 or 4.
Point of information, yes.
My question was like, what other TV shows? I guess they use ABC shows, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
Boy Meets World was on ABC and
Yeah.
All American Girl was on ABC.
Yeah.
What other shows do you think they should reference that would be relevant to that show?
Was it 94?
This is 95.
95 now? Oh, God.
Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, he was Mr.
Maybe
Cooper.
Mr. Cooper.
I would like to reference that.
Urkel, something with
Full
Urkel.
House.
Full House.
Full House.
Parenthood? That seems a little, not that magic. That was ABC, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was like, that's only been like 5 years.
Okay, fine, all right.
What was your parent?
I'm a 70s kid.
MacGyver.
That's it.
That's it, all right.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. Have you guys ever seen I just watched the Goldbergs for the first time last week. I was so pissed off about how they play so fast and loose with the timeline. They make all these 80s references that don't make any, like Reagan and Mondale are running for president, and then they have a reference to American Gladiators and America's Funniest Home Videos, which didn't happen until like way later in the decade. So I'm like, what the hell? Pissed me off. Okay, so this is what we need to do, actually. We need to toast this season and the end of this show for the season.
Yes.
I want to give a shout out to ABC and then the folks at Fresh Off the Boat. Jake Kazan, Melvin Martin, and Asha Khan, the entire cast of great. They sent over us like some bottles of champagne and stuff like that today. Thank you guys. And we gotta give them props because they've been really good to us.
Look at that Mickey Mouse money.
They would bring, we get no money from doing this show, but we do it because we're really interested in the show and we just really enjoy watching it. But they've been super kind to us. We've had guests on the show, from the show, and they've just been really cool. So we want to thank ABC, 20th Century Fox, and everybody at Fresh Off the Boat for just being friends to us. And thank you for Fresh Off the Boat for making that happen. We're new FOTV. So get our glasses raised.
Almost done. Oh God.
Oh snap!
Here we go.
All right, y'all. Let's toast.
Wow.
Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
yes.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you for watching our post show. Thank you for being our Yeah. Thank you, Megan. Oh, thank you so much. I also just wanted to share I wanted to go deeper Taiwanese on the snacks. So here we go. This is some fish snack. I forgot how do you say it in Chinese? Youyusi? Yeah, youyusi. For some reason it's like oil fish strips.
Cuttlefish, right?
No, but it's not cuttlefish on the photo. Okay, and then this is Formosa brand pork food.
Yes.
Or as my friend Gina likes to call it, pork rug, because it looks like rug. It looks like carpet.
Yeah.
It looks like carpet. I'm gonna show you. It's delicious,
Like
salty, porky. It looks like
Insulation.
asbestos. And then this is a fancy one, but this is a classic Taiwan brand, Mr. Brown coffee, iced coffee, but this is macadamia.
Oh, yeah.
And then this is like sashima, which is like this is like the Chinese Taiwanese Rice Krispie treat.
But they're not as good. I always thought it was
But
like
there's no dairy. Yeah, it's not as
kid.
sweet and there's no dairy, so it's not as good as Rice Krispie treats. And then that's pineapple cake, which is like a huge Taiwan export. Anyway, this is my childhood right here.
Where's the hot plate?
Deep Chinese.
We never got around to hot flakes this season. Next season.
Hot flakes, yeah, that's
Next
true.
season.
But this is deep Taiwanese snack
I'm
right
very
here.
happy Mr. Brown isn't racist.
I know, Mr. Brown could have been racist. He just has a brown beard. But there used to be, by the way, though, since we're going to talk about it, we have a very challenging relationship with blackness, our Taiwan. Yes, I used to use a Taiwanese brand toothpaste that was all yellow, and then it had a black face of a guy with a top hat with like just white teeth.
This is a brand of toothpaste?
It used to be called Darky toothpaste.
It just
Like,
changed
oh,
that only like
No.
2 years ago.
Only like a couple years ago, if you Google Darky toothpaste, they changed it to Darlie. So they changed the K to L. I was like, it wasn't until I got to be an adult where I looked back on my childhood and I was like, whoa, that was really messed up. It was delicious. It's a weird, it's a weird racial thing that Taiwanese people have about black people, whatever.
I thought that was sort of all across Asia.
It was, no, it was not just
Right, it
Taiwan.
wasn't-
That's right.
But it
They had it in
It
Japan,
was really messed up, but
Singapore.
you can't blame
It was messed up across Asia. Yeah.
We didn't end it on a high note, dude.
No, I'm sorry. Hey, sometimes we get racist, okay? But Chinese will get, but I just like to toast with
It's
some,
gonna be the tweet.
the champagne. I like to mix my champagne with my people. See that? Hey, I want to thank, by the way, can we just thank Phil for being our ringleader here? Thank you. And of course, Joanna, Angry Plus One, as a producer. She's off camera. And Milton, who's holding it down as our producer from Visual Communications. He hosted us in their studio at Visual Communications.
So as we wrap up, I want to do a couple quick thanks. Thanks for this episode and the entire season. Basically, This was co-produced with Visual Communications Help, and Visual Communications is the producer of the Los Angeles Asia Pacific Film Festival. It starts this Thursday, April 23rd. April 23rd and runs through the 30th in Los Angeles, in Little Tokyo, Koreatown, and West Hollywood. Check out the schedule on bconline.org or asianfilmfestla.org. Great films, great schedule programs, screenings, parties, events, great way to meet folks doing it, and just telling Asian American stories. So if you like Fresh Off the Boat, there's a bunch of stuff. Milton, you want to plug some more?
Yeah, we're doing the conference for creative content.
That's not distracting.
With
Jenny.
some pork rug.
Pork rug, this is what it looks like,
There'll
you
be
guys.
lots of pork rug. Again,
What's that now?
just come.
Just come to the film festival, y'all.
It's a blast.
And check out bconline.org. If you like this show, just consider donating. We want to thank everybody who's tuned in all season. We want to thank Joanna Lee, our producer. We want to thank Milton. We want to thank the Japanese American National Museum, who's hosted us from day one and helped us out and hosted us tonight. And thank our panelists, Keijo, Oliver, Milton, Jenny, my partner in crime, Jenny. Thank you so much.
And all of you guys,
Everybody here, thank you so much for showing up. Right here.
And we got fruit here.
Bye, y'all.
We'll see you next season, everybody. Renew FOTV.
Renew FOTV.